Life has a way of showing you patterns, subtle at first, then glaringly obvious. You think you know your place, your family. Then, one day, a moment hits you so hard, it shatters every comfortable illusion you've built over decades. I'm Clara Jensen, 34 years old, and I have two younger sisters, Stella, who is 31, and Maya, 28. For most of my life, I truly believed we were close. We shared childhood memories, whispered secrets, and imagined our futures together. I'm a freelance graphic designer, dedicated to my work, but family has always been at the core of who I am. I value those bonds deeply. But there was always this quiet ache, a persistent feeling that I wasn't quite part of things in the same way. It started subtly, years ago. When Maya graduated, I was the only one who didn't get an invitation to her ceremony. When I asked about it, she just said she thought I wouldn't want to go. I remember the pang in my chest, but I brushed it off. Maybe she was right, maybe I seemed too busy. Then when our grandfather passed away, a few days after the funeral, the family had a big get-together to remember him, to share stories and comfort each other. Again, I was the only one not invited. My mother told me later they just didn't think I'd want to go, thinking I might prefer to grieve alone. It felt like a gentle push away, disguised as thoughtfulness. Each time I tried to rationalize it, to tell myself they meant well, that I was just overthinking. But these small slights, these quiet exclusions, they started to accumulate. The most recent one, before everything truly unraveled, was Maya's baby shower. Maya had been through so much, struggling with fertility for years, and finally, she and her husband conceived through IVF. I was absolutely ecstatic for her when I found out she was pregnant. I wanted to be there for every step. So when she organized the baby shower on a day she knew I wouldn't be able to attend, it was a familiar sting. I felt a deep sadness at missing out on such a joyful occasion. Despite the disappointment, I refused to let it dampen my excitement for her. I went out and carefully selected beautiful baby items, putting together a thoughtful hamper. I even included a handmade blanket. This blanket was special. One of my recently passed aunts had knitted it for my little boy when she found out I was pregnant 6 years ago. It was a piece of family history, filled with love and warmth. I dropped it off at my parents' house, hoping it would convey all the love I couldn't express by being there in person. I just wanted to be a part of their joy, to show them how much I cared, even when it felt like there was a wall between us. I truly believed that despite these recurring patterns, our family bond was strong enough to endure anything. I held on to that hope with every fiber of my being. Maya's pregnancy wasn't easy. She had multiple medical complications throughout, which ultimately meant she had to have an early C-section. We all worried about her, of course, and I made sure to check in often. Throughout this difficult time, Maya had been very clear about her wishes regarding the hospital visit and the first few days home. She explicitly stated that on the day the baby was born, she only wanted our parents and her husband's parents to visit the hospital. This was her preference, to keep things quiet and intimate for that initial moment. Beyond the hospital, she also wanted the first 24 hours at home to be just for her, her husband, and their dog. She explained that she wanted their dog to get used to the baby first, creating a calm and private environment for their new family. I thought this was completely understandable. As someone who respects boundaries and understands the need for peace during such a significant life event, I was absolutely fine with her wishes. I mentally prepared myself to respect that space and wait for her to invite me when she felt ready. The day before Maya's C-section, I spoke to her on the phone. I told her my day was clear. "I'm at work, but it's a quiet day," I remember saying. "If you need me, you know where I am. I can't wait to hear from you." We didn't know the gender of the baby yet, so the excitement was building. I genuinely couldn't wait to meet my new nephew or niece. I held on to that anticipation, picturing the moment I would finally see the little one. I went about my day at work, keeping my phone close, buzzing with nervous excitement. I was ready for the call, the one that would announce the baby's arrival. I imagined it would be a call directly from Maya, or perhaps a group text to all the siblings from our parents once the news was officially out. I was patient. I was understanding. I felt I was respecting her wishes, giving her the space she asked for. I truly believed I was doing everything right, everything a supportive sister should do. Then around 1 p.m., my phone rang. It was a Facebook video call. My heart leaped. It was Maya. She was lying in a hospital bed, looking a little tired but radiant, and next to her, my dad. They introduced me to my beautiful new nephew. He was tiny, perfect, and I was instantly, utterly delighted. Tears welled up in my eyes, tears of pure joy and overwhelming love for this new little life. This was the moment I had waited for. I cooed at the baby, congratulated Maya, and thanked my dad. The happiness was so real, so immediate. For a brief moment, all those past feelings of exclusion faded away. I was connected. I was part of it. Or so I thought. My delight, that pure, unadulterated joy of seeing my new nephew, was fleeting. Maya then handed the phone to my mum, saying a nurse had just walked in. My mum's voice, usually comforting, now held a casual tone that would soon pierce right through me. She started talking about the baby, about Maya, and then, almost as an afterthought, she dropped a bombshell. "Oh, Sally's here too," she said. The words hung in the air, a cold, heavy weight. My joy turned into devastation in an instant. Sally, my other sister, Stella, who was supposed to be at home, respecting Maya's strict wishes about hospital visitors. But she was there. My mind reeled. The rules Maya had so clearly set out, only parents from both sides, suddenly didn't apply to everyone. Just to me, it seemed. I felt a surge of betrayal, sharp and unexpected. I had been so careful to respect Maya's wishes. I had told myself it was fine, that I understood. But seeing Stella there, knowing she was part of that intimate, precious hospital moment, felt like a deliberate exclusion. It wasn't just about missing out on seeing the baby in person. It was about the recurring pattern, the quiet message that I was, once again, not quite enough, not quite family in the same way. Why wasn't I invited to the hospital too? I asked my mum, my voice tight, the joy from moments before completely gone. I could feel tears starting to prickle my eyes, a familiar burn. My mum's response came quickly, almost dismissively. "Because you were working," she said, "we hadn't thought you'd be able to go." Those words struck me hard. They hadn't thought I'd be able to go. It was the same old excuse, the same dismissal of my ability to manage my own life, my own priorities. It always felt like they were making decisions for me, without even asking. It felt like they had already decided I wasn't important enough to inform, to give me the choice. "That's for me to deal with," I told her, my voice rising slightly, thick with emotion. "If you had just asked, my manager would have definitely let me leave. I could have been there. I could have shared that beautiful moment with my family. Instead, my voice broke then, the tears finally overflowing. Instead, you were all there enjoying that beautiful moment without me. Again." The last word, again, carried the weight of years of similar disappointments, of feeling like an outsider in my own family. My mum mumbled something, a weak attempt at an explanation, but I barely heard her. The pain was too overwhelming. I couldn't hold it in anymore. My chest felt tight, my throat constricted. I just needed to escape the conversation. With a choked sob, I hung up the phone. The line went dead, but the echo of her words and the image of Stella at the hospital lingered, a cruel reminder of my isolation. I closed my eyes, tears streaming down my face. My joy had not just turned into devastation. It had turned into a profound, aching loneliness. After I hung up on my mom, tears streaming down my face, I felt a deep, overwhelming sadness. It was like a dam had broken inside me, releasing years of accumulated hurt and frustration. I didn't want to talk to anyone, didn't want to explain. All I wanted was to crawl into a corner and disappear. My first impulse, a raw, protective one, was to remove myself from the family group chat. I went to my phone, my fingers still a little shaky, and found the group conversation. Without a second thought, I tapped Leave Group. It felt like a small act of self-preservation, a way to shield myself from any more casual dismissals or hurtful updates I wasn't meant to be a part of. The instant I left, a strange quiet settled over my phone. No more constant notifications. No more snippets of family life I was only half included in. It was a stark silence, but in that moment, it also felt like a release. I managed to pull myself together enough to continue with my workday, though my mind was far from focused. The image of Stella at the hospital and my mother's dismissive tone played over and over in my head. I felt a desperate need for someone to acknowledge my feelings, to tell me that what I was experiencing was valid. Later that afternoon, I spoke to my manager, Mrs. Thompson. She's a professional and understanding woman, and I've always felt comfortable confiding in her about work, and sometimes even personal matters. I explained what had happened, trying to keep my voice steady, but I could feel it wavering. I told her about the phone call, about my mom's reasoning, and how much it had hurt. Mrs. Thompson listened patiently, her expression thoughtful. When I finished, she looked at me with genuine concern. "Clara," she said, her voice gentle but firm, "if you had asked, I would have absolutely let you leave for the afternoon. Without a doubt. This was a significant family event. It's completely understandable that you'd want to be there." Her words were a balm to my raw nerves. "I'm shocked your family did that," she added, her tone indicating true surprise. That validation, coming from someone outside the emotional turmoil of my family, meant more than she could possibly know. It confirmed what my heart already knew. My feelings were not an overreaction. My desire to be there, to be included, was perfectly normal and reasonable. Buoyed by her support, I decided to send a message to my mum. I wanted her to understand the depth of my hurt, to perhaps, finally, acknowledge how much her actions had affected me. I typed out a message, carefully choosing my words, explaining how upset I was, how excluded I felt, and how much I wished I had been given the chance to be there. I waited for her reply, a tiny sliver of hope flickering within me that she might offer a genuine apology, a true understanding. Her response came quickly, a short, simple sentence. "I'm sorry you feel that way." My manager, Mrs. Thompson, had warned me about this exact kind of phrasing. "She's gaslighting you, Clara," she had said. "Your feelings are absolutely valid." And there it was, not an apology for her actions, but a dismissal of my feelings. It wasn't "I'm sorry I hurt you," but "I'm sorry you're choosing to feel this way." It was a cold, hard confirmation that my perception, my emotions, were being minimized, pushed aside. Just as I had been pushed aside from family events so many times before. That short sentence was the final blow, extinguishing the last flicker of hope I had for genuine understanding from her. I finally understood that no matter how hard I tried or how clearly I expressed my pain, some bridges simply couldn't be built with the materials I was given. My manager, Mrs. Thompson, had given me some clarity. Her words, especially about gaslighting and validating my feelings, resonated deeply. But her validation couldn't magically heal the years of quiet hurts. My mum's dismissive "I'm sorry you feel that way" was the final straw. It wasn't an apology. It was a wall, built higher and thicker than any I'd encountered before. It solidified my understanding. They simply wouldn't or couldn't see my pain. In the days that followed, a strange quiet settled over my life. The absence of the family group chat notifications, which had once felt like a small wound, now felt like a necessary distance. It was unsettling at first, this sudden void, but slowly it began to feel like peace. I stopped checking my phone constantly, waiting for an invitation that never came or an acknowledgement that was always withheld. I started to focus more on my work. My freelance graphic design projects became my sanctuary. Pouring my energy into creative tasks, seeing tangible results, felt incredibly grounding. Mrs. Thompson noticed my focus, and I found solace in the professional, respectful environment of my work. A stark contrast to the emotional complexities of my family. I thought about Maya, the new baby, Leo, my beautiful nephew. I loved him, truly, but the joy of his arrival was forever tainted by the circumstances of his first moments. I knew I couldn't cut ties completely. This wasn't about severing all connections, but about redefining them. I understood that my relationship with Maya, and even Stella, would need time. It might never be the same. The trust, once so implicit, had been fundamentally broken. The raw emotion I felt in the hospital parking lot after hanging up on my mom slowly began to evolve. It wasn't just sadness anymore. It was a realization, a profound, almost spiritual shift within me. I couldn't keep chasing acceptance from people who consistently, even if unintentionally, made me feel like an outsider. My worth wasn't dependent on their inclusion. This whole experience became a pivotal turning point for me. I began to understand that I couldn't continue to let my family's patterns dictate my self-worth or my happiness. The decision to remove myself from the family group chat was more than just leaving a digital space. It was a symbolic act of establishing healthier boundaries for myself. It was the first step on a new path, one where I would prioritize my emotional well-being. I started to focus more on myself, on my own needs, and on the people in my life who truly valued me, who celebrated my successes and supported me through my struggles without judgment or hidden agendas. I learned that loving your family doesn't always mean accepting every single thing they do, and that sometimes protecting your own peace means creating necessary distance. The journey to heal from these deep-seated wounds would be long, but I knew with a quiet certainty that it was a journey I had to take. For the first time in a long while, I felt a gentle breeze of hope, a whisper that told me I was finally choosing myself. And in that choice, I found a different kind of strength. The quiet that settled over my life after the group chat exit was a different kind of quiet. It wasn't the silence of being overlooked or the tension of unspoken resentments anymore. It was a silence filled with space. A space for me to breathe, to think, to simply be. The initial sting of separation faded into a dull ache, then eventually into a quiet hum of peace. I continued with my therapy sessions with Sophia. Our conversations had changed significantly. We moved beyond just recounting the pain. We delved into understanding the patterns, the deep-seated family dynamics that had led to this point. Sophia helped me see that my family's actions, while hurtful, weren't necessarily malicious in every instance, but often stemmed from their own perspectives and blind spots. This realization didn't erase the hurt, but it helped me process it without becoming consumed by bitterness. We talked a lot about forgiveness, not as an act of excusing their behavior, but as a release for myself. Forgiveness for the anger I felt, for the lingering sadness, and even for the parts of me that had allowed myself to be repeatedly hurt. It was a long, often difficult process, but with each session, I felt a little lighter, a little more whole. I started to rebuild my life, not just around my work, but around genuine connections. I deepened friendships that had perhaps taken a back seat during my family struggles. I sought out new hobbies, things that brought me personal joy and fulfillment. My freelance design work flourished, becoming a source of quiet confidence and a healthy distraction. I realized that my value wasn't tied to family approval or to a perfect picture book life. It was inherent in me, in my creativity, in my kindness, in my capacity to care. I still loved my family. That doesn't simply disappear. But my love became more detached, more realistic. I learned to love them from a healthier distance, a distance that protected my own peace. I might occasionally check in on Maya through indirect channels, or see glimpses of Stella's life through mutual acquaintances, but I no longer chased their validation or sought their direct inclusion. The constant craving for their acceptance had finally, mercifully, quieted. This entire experience, as painful as it was, became a profound lesson in self-worth and boundaries. I learned that sometimes the hardest choices are the most necessary ones for our own well-being. It taught me that it's okay to step back when a relationship, even a family one, is consistently causing you more pain than joy. It's not about abandoning anyone, but about saving yourself. The quiet act of leaving a group chat, of setting a boundary, became a powerful statement. It was my way of saying, my feelings matter, my well-being matters, and I will protect them. My life today is different. It's quieter, perhaps less outwardly dramatic, but it's filled with a deeper sense of peace and authenticity. The wounds are healing, leaving behind not scars of bitterness, but marks of strength. I learned that true happiness isn't found in being included in every family photo, but in building a life where you feel truly seen, truly valued, and truly at peace with yourself, no matter what others may or may not provide. And that, I've realized, is a legacy far more valuable than any family gathering. The quiet that settled over my life after the group chat exit was a different kind of quiet. It wasn't the silence of being overlooked or the tension of unspoken resentments anymore. It was a silence filled with space, a space for me to breathe, to think, to simply be. The initial sting of separation faded into a dull ache, then eventually into a quiet hum of peace. I continued with my therapy sessions with Sophia. Our conversations had changed significantly. We moved beyond just recounting the pain. We delved into understanding the patterns, the deep-seated family dynamics that had led to this point. Sophia helped me see that my family's actions, while hurtful, weren't necessarily malicious in every instance, but often stemmed from their own perspectives and blind spots. This realization didn't erase the hurt, but it helped me process it without becoming consumed by bitterness. We talked a lot about forgiveness, not as an act of excusing their behavior, but as a release for myself. Forgiveness for the anger I felt, for the lingering sadness, and even for the parts of me that had allowed myself to be repeatedly hurt. It was a long, often difficult process, but with each session, I felt a little lighter, a little more whole. I started to rebuild my life, not just around my work, but around genuine connections. I deepened friendships that had perhaps taken a back seat during my family struggles. I sought out new hobbies, things that brought me personal joy and fulfillment. My freelance design work flourished, becoming a source of quiet confidence and a healthy distraction. I realized that my value wasn't tied to family approval or to a perfect picture book life. It was inherent in me, in my creativity, in my kindness, in my capacity to care. I still loved my family. That doesn't simply disappear, but my love became more detached, more realistic. I learned to love them from a healthier distance, a distance that protected my own peace. I might occasionally check in on Maya through indirect channels, or see glimpses of Stella's life through mutual acquaintances, but I no longer chased their validation or sought their direct inclusion. The constant craving for their acceptance had finally, mercifully quieted. This entire experience, as painful as it was, became a profound lesson in self-worth and boundaries. I learned that sometimes the hardest choices are the most necessary ones for our own well-being. It taught me that it's okay to step back when a relationship, even a family one, is consistently causing you more pain than joy. It's not about abandoning anyone, but about saving yourself. The quiet act of leaving a group chat, of setting a boundary, became a powerful statement. It was my way of saying, my feelings matter, my well-being matters, and I will protect them. My life today is different. It's quieter, perhaps less outwardly dramatic, but it's filled with a deeper sense of peace and authenticity. The wounds are healing, leaving behind not scars of bitterness, but marks of strength. I learned that true happiness isn't found in being included in every family photo, but in building a life where you feel truly seen, truly valued, and truly at peace with yourself, no matter what others